My wife and I met in college. Because of something that happened back then, she developed a deep-seated aversion to men. But for some reason, I was the only one she could stand to be near. From that point on, we grew closer. Eventually, we got married. Every time I looked at her sleeping beside me, I felt like the luckiest man alive. To have married such a beautiful woman. But it wasn't until a car accident that I discovered I didn't know my wife at all. 1. Drive safe, honey. My wife, my gentle Jessica, stood before me, smoothing the collar of my shirt. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. All right, I'm heading out. I glanced at my watch, then gave her a quick hug. This was the life I had grown accustomed to over the past 3 years. My beautiful wife seeing me off in the morning and a hot, home-cooked meal waiting for me when I got back. It was enough to make the daily grind feel worth it. For 3 years, our relationship had been strong. Time hadn't weakened our bond or bred any contempt. The so-called 7-year, it seemed like something that happened to other people, not us. I smiled as I got into my car. Okay, time to crush it today. I started the engine and pulled out of the driveway. I'm a manager at a major investment firm in Chicago. The pay is great, but the hours are brutal and the work is demanding. I put on some music, trying to clear my head as I drove toward the city, mentally running through the presentation I had to give this morning and the implementation plan for my latest project. Ding! My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Babe, I'm heading to my friend's place today, so I'll be home late. Make sure you eat something decent. I sighed, glancing down for a second. When I looked back up, an electric scooter was careening right into my path. I yanked the steering wheel, but it was too late. I still hit her. I slammed on the brakes and immediately got out to check if the rider was okay. But the moment I stepped out of the car, I was met with a barrage of shouting. The scooter rider, a woman, was pointing at me furiously. Are you blind? Do you even know how to drive? She unleashed a torrent of curses. The words of concern I was about to offer died on my lips, and my expression hardened. Seeing my silence, she grew even more enraged. So you hit me, and now you've got nothing to say? What? You want to start something? I looked at her baffled. Ma'am, please calm down. I was driving straight in the main lane. You shot out from between 2 parked cars on the sidewalk. There was no way for me to avoid you. But she wasn't having any of it. Maybe you should pay attention to the road and slow down, she screamed. I was stunned. I couldn't have been going any slower. Seeing the absolute Karen I was dealing with, I knew there was no point in arguing. I just pulled out my phone and called 911. Hi. Yes. I'm on the corner of Clark and Adams. I've just been in a traffic accident. I was proceeding straight. I explained the situation calmly. The woman's face grew uglier. What? So now you're playing the victim? I ignored her. I'll wait for the police, I said quietly. At that, she whipped out her own phone and started recording me. You hit me, and now you're threatening me? I ignored her unhinged rant, simply repeating, I'll let the police handle it. Whatever their report says, I'll accept. How have you managed to stay alive this long? She sneered. How I've lived my life has nothing to do with you. She seemed to find an opening. It has everything to do with me now that you've hit me, she said, triumphant. I almost laughed. I'll let the cops decide that. As for whether I hit you, I'll let the cops decide that, too. My calmness seemed to enrage her further. She fell back on her old line. I'm asking you, are you saying you're in the right after hitting me? I just kept repeating my mantra. Thankfully, the police arrived quickly. I explained the situation to the officer. I have a dash cam. I said, it'll show I was driving normally when she darted out from between 2 cars on the sidewalk. I played the footage for him. The video was clear. The woman was instantly speechless, but still tried to argue, claiming it was my fault, that this was discrimination against women, and that the male officer was obviously biased in my favor. But the cop didn't indulge her. He wrote up the report on the spot. The result was the woman, thoroughly humbled, had to pay for my damages. To top it off, a check on her scooter's registration revealed it was stolen, and she was promptly escorted to the nearest police station. Back in my car, I let out a long breath. What a terrible start to the day. The fender was badly scraped where she'd hit it, and I thought I heard a new noise coming from the engine. I drove the car to a repair shop and took an Uber to the office. 2. The workload today was insane. I was completely swamped. Still, during a short break, I found a moment to call my wife, Jessica. It went straight to voicemail. She's probably busy and didn't notice, I thought. It had happened before. She'd always call me back as soon as she saw the missed call. So I wasn't worried. I put my phone down and went back to hammering away at my keyboard. Sure enough, not long after, my phone rang. I smiled as I answered. Hey, what are you so busy with? Couldn't even pick up the phone for your dear husband? I was teasing. Jessica just laughed on the other end. I was in the shower, didn't hear it. But I called you back the second I saw it, didn't I? Her tone shifted to one of concern. By the way, did you eat? If you haven't, just you wait till I get home. Her warmth washed over me. Of course I did. I chuckled. I snapped a picture of my sad desk salad and sent it to her. Her satisfied voice came through the phone. Looks decent. Good job. Not as good as your cooking, though, I replied. She sniffed playfully. Obviously, we chatted for a few more minutes, laughing and checking in on each other. This was our normal. Bye, honey, love you. Jessica's sweet voice chirped. Love you too, babe, I said, feeling re-energized. As I hung up, a sickeningly sweet voice mimicked. I love you, too. My friend and colleague, Leo Carter, was standing beside my desk, pinching his nose and holding 2 cups of coffee. I swatted at him playfully. Get out of here. He dodged, laughing, and set a coffee on my desk. Seriously, I'm jealous of you too. I took a sip. It was bitter. Then go find yourself a girlfriend and settle down already. Leo raised his eyebrows. I'm letting fate handle it. If I meet a girl who gets me, whose interests line up with mine, then I'll do it. I smirked. You have to actually look, man. You think she's just going to fall out of the sky? Leo was that kind of go-with-the-flow guy. He chuckled and took a sip of his own coffee. Suddenly, he grew thoughtful. You know, the only person from college who could ever compare to Jessica was probably Claire Sterling. A lot of people even thought she was better. So poised, so elegant, and always kind to everyone. I took another sip of my coffee, lost in thought. Yeah. His eyes darted toward me. Hey, can you give me a ride after work? I leaned back in my chair with a groan. Can't. Leo looked surprised. Is Jessica keeping that tight a leash on you? I waved my hand. No, nothing like that. The car got hit today. His expression immediately shifted to concern. Are you okay? Did you go to the hospital? I smiled, reassuring him. It was just a scooter. He let out a sigh of relief. So you took the car to a shop? I nodded. Yep. He took a sip of coffee. Which one? He asked casually. The one you recommended, I said without thinking. The one I recommended? He frowned, a look of confusion on his face. Then his eyes widened. Don't tell me you went to Quick Fix Auto. I nodded. He slapped me on the shoulder. Dude, I told you to never go to that place. What? He gave me a look of utter exasperation. You obviously weren't listening. Too busy thinking about your wife. I gave him a sheepish grin. He continued, the guys at that shop are shady. They've been known to steal stuff from customers' cars before. My brow furrowed for a moment, then relaxed. It's fine. It's not like I have anything valuable in there anyway. Leo seemed relieved. Okay, good. But don't go there again. I'll give you the name of a new place. I guarantee they're legit. Sound good? 3. After work, I took an Uber home. I opened the door to a dark, silent apartment. She's not back yet. I reached for the light switch, but in the next instant, the room lit up. Jessica was standing by the dining table, a huge cake in her hands. The table itself was covered with exquisitely prepared dishes, all under silver cloches. That explained why I hadn't smelled anything. Happy birthday, honey. I was completely stunned. So, you said you were going to your friend's place and would be late. It was all to plan this. Jessica smiled, setting the cake down and pulling me by the hand toward the table. Hee hee, I wanted to surprise you. She pushed me down into a chair and told me to make a wish. I looked at the beautiful spread and my gorgeous wife smiling at me through the flickering candlelight. I closed my eyes, clasped my hands, and made my wish. When I opened them, Jessica was holding out a beautifully wrapped box. What's this? Your birthday present, she said happily. Looking at the gift, I felt a wave of emotion. Who knew what treasures lay beneath that perfectly tied silk ribbon? I accepted it with a wide grin. Thank you, babe. I love you. Jessica beamed, her eyes full of adoration. I love you too. We had a wonderful evening. Later, lying in bed, we held each other close. Our intimate life was harmonious. I would drive her to the edge until she was begging for mercy, but I'd refuse to stop until she was lost to the world. Tonight, she held me tighter than ever. I stared at the moonlight filtering through the window, my mind drifting back to how Jessica and I first met. 4. My wife and I went to the same university. She was already a star back then, top of her class, from a prominent family, stunningly beautiful, and president of the student government. She was the main attraction at every school arts festival. She could host, sing, dance, she could do it all. A true golden girl. Countless guys admired her, crushed on her from afar. And me? I was just an average student. I had good grades and was decent looking, but I was nothing special. We moved in completely different circles. Besides, I had a girlfriend at the time and was completely wrapped up in that relationship, so I didn't pay much attention to anything else. Until one day, it was after our evening class. Because I was on a work-study program, I stayed behind to clean the classroom. By the time I finished, the entire building was practically empty. I joined a few other student cleaners, and we headed downstairs together. "You taking the elevator, Luke?" one of them asked. I shook my head. "I think I dropped my student ID on my way in. I'm going to check the stairwell." "They didn't leave. We'll help you look." I smiled. "Thanks, guys. I'll buy you all food later." "All right, we're going to hold you to that." We searched our way down. We finally found my ID card near the first floor restroom. "Thank God it's still here." "Yeah, it's a miracle no one picked it up." "What? You wanted Luke to get his meal plan stolen?" The guy quickly waved his hands. "Of course not." We all laughed. I waved them on. "I meant it, dinner's on me." They made a show of refusing. "Oh, we couldn't possibly." I grinned. "So no then?" They chuckled. "Well, we can't be rude and refuse your kind offer, can we?" We shared a look and started walking toward the exit. But as we passed the janitor's closet, we heard a sound. A very distinct kind of sound. One of the guys, his curiosity piqued, shot the rest of us a mischievous grin and crept closer. I sighed. I wanted to leave, but they forcefully dragged me along. We peered through a gap in the blinds on the window. A girl was kneeling in front of a guy with a buzz cut. The guy who went over first had already started recording on his phone. "Dude, this isn't right," I said. He just smirked. "They're the ones who aren't right. Why are they doing this in a public place? Were all the hotels booked? Or are they broke?" He had a point. No matter what, you couldn't just do something like this in the middle of a school building. I stood to the side, averting my eyes, ready to leave. But then someone called my name. "Wait, Luke." I looked at them, confused. "What's up?" The guy who called me turned around, hesitating. I was getting annoyed. "You call my name and then say nothing?" "I'm leaving." He immediately grabbed my arm and handed me his phone. "I mean, this girl kind of looks like your girlfriend." 5. He tilted his head. "Maybe I'm seeing things, but it's a crazy resemblance." I took the phone and looked. There was no mistaking that face. It was her. Seeing my expression, the guys understood. "Let's kill these cheating bastards," one of them said, filled with righteous anger. Before I could say a word, they kicked down the locked door. The couple inside scrambled in a panic. They were in the middle of a critical step. The guy was instantly terrified. The girl, Megan, hurriedly pulled her clothes over herself. My friend descended on the guy, punching and kicking him. I walked into the room. Megan's face went pale. "Luke, listen to me. It's not what it looks like." I looked at the man they were beating to a pulp. He was a senior in Megan's department. How pathetic. She told me she was going to the movies with her friends tonight. Turns out this was her movie. I walked over and slapped her across the face. She staggered back, dazed. Sometime during the chaos, a crowd of onlookers had gathered. They must have been from a club meeting nearby. They all had their phones out, live streaming and recording. Megan tried desperately to cover herself, but it was useless. The incident blew up. The video spread like wildfire online. No matter how many times it was taken down, it was reposted faster by netizens. The social impact was huge. The university responded swiftly for violating school regulations, damaging the school's reputation, and creating a severe negative social impact. The students involved are hereby expelled. It sounded harsh, but this one incident brought many others to light. People came forward with stories about the senior, how he'd had inappropriate relationships with multiple female students, cheated on exams, and used his position in his club to bully others. The girl, Megan, was also exposed for spreading malicious rumors about classmates, bullying her roommates, and posting radical feminist hate speech online. Just like that, both were expelled. Law enforcement even came to the school to investigate related matters. Every professor and student who knew what happened tried to offer me counseling. I just told them I was fine. I wasn't going to let something like this break me. I went on with my life as if nothing had happened, studying, working my part-time jobs. Until one night, I was delivering food to an isolated scrapyard on the outskirts of the city. The yard was filled with mountains of reclaimed bottles, electronics, cars, bicycles, and cardboard boxes. I went inside and, following the address, knocked on the door of a small shack where someone lived. After a long wait, the door creaked open. A disheveled man in his 40s with long, greasy hair appeared. He looked extremely wary. I smiled and handed him the food delivery, which seemed to put him slightly at ease. But the moment he took it, he slammed the door shut. I'd been delivering food long enough to be used to all kinds of customers. It didn't bother me. With a sigh, I turned to leave. But then, an image I had glimpsed when the door was open flashed in my mind. I froze. I quickly pulled out my phone, my mind racing. A moment later, I knew what was happening. I immediately dialed 911. Hello, I need to report crime. I'm at 6. While waiting for the police, I pressed my ear against the door, listening for any movement inside. When I heard a woman's muffled sobs and a man's angry shouting, I knew I couldn't wait. I knocked loudly on the door. A roar came from inside. Who is it? It's the delivery guy from before. I yelled back. There was a moment of silence, then a suspicious voice called out, What do you want? I smirked. Nothing, just thought I'd let you know I took a piss on your doorstep. Silence from within. I had to provoke him, or he'd never come out. You know, for someone who orders delivery to a shithole this far out, you're a real piece of work. I make pocket change on this, and you're blowing up my phone rushing me? You're garbage. My words hit their mark. The door flew open. I saw my target, grabbed a wooden plank from the ground, and swung it at his head. He went down with a cry of pain. I quickly tied him to a nearby post and ran inside the shack. The stench was overwhelming. The place was a chaotic mess of clothes and trash piled together. Flies and maggots were everywhere. Fighting back nausea, I searched frantically, finally finding a hidden cellar. The girl inside was filthy, her face black with grime, her body covered in wounds. She reeked. When she saw me, she curled into a ball like a terrified deer. I approached her slowly, speaking in a soothing voice. It's okay. You're safe now. The bad man is caught. You can go home. Her body trembled. She slowly lifted her head to look at me. Thankfully, people have always said I have a friendly face. I walked over, ignoring the filth caked on her, and pulled her into a hug. The girl burst into tears, wailing uncontrollably. Just then, there was a crash behind me. The guy had somehow broken free and was coming at us with a knife, his face contorted with rage. I immediately stood in front of the girl, shielding her. In a struggle, I got slashed several times. Luckily, the police arrived right then, saving us both. The girl was put into an ambulance, but she wouldn't let go of my sleeve. I had no choice but to go with her to the hospital. After that, she was terrified of all other men. Because of what she had endured, the unspeakable physical and psychological torment. Her kidnapper had always worn a mask and a leather jacket, only revealing parts of himself as he violated her. He used methods for breaking animals to shatter her spirit and dignity. My arrival felt like a salvation. From then on, I was the only man she could tolerate near her. And so I stayed by her side, helping her recover step by step. I went with her to doctor's appointments, to therapy sessions. I took her out to nice restaurants, to beautiful places. We spent a lot of time together, slowly healing. Until one day, she held my hand tightly and confessed her feelings for me. I accepted. That girl is now my wife, Jessica. Though she went through hell, she rose from the ashes. I didn't care about her past. None of it was her fault. Our life together was beautiful. And gradually, she even became comfortable around her father and a few other male relatives again. It was a good thing. 8. I woke up the next morning to a familiar, delicious aroma. I got out of bed, walked to the kitchen, and wrapped my arms around my wife as she cooked. I'm so lucky, I murmured. Jessica just smiled and patted my hand. After we ate together, I got ready for work. Drive safe, she said with a smile. And take care of yourself. I will. I took a few steps toward the door, then turned back. Oh, by the way, your birthday is in a few days. You'd better be excited for my gift. Jessica playfully slapped my arm. You're not supposed to tell someone about a surprise. I just grinned and left. I got to the office. Same old routine. The workload was heavy, and I was buried in it. Just then, Leo sidled up to my desk. Lou, I turned to see him frowning, his expression serious. What's up? I joked. Did the market crash? He glanced around nervously. I noticed that people in the office were whispering amongst themselves. Leo pulled me into the break room. Seeing how serious he was, I started to feel a sense of dread. Are there layoffs coming? I asked immediately. Leo sighed and handed me his phone. You need to brace yourself. His tone sent a chill down my spine. Was I getting fired? Confused, I took the phone and looked at the screen. The next moment, my world tilted. It was a video filmed from a car's dashcam. That alone wouldn't have been a big deal. But I saw my wife, Jessica. She was wearing a simple white dress, and the man next to her was horribly familiar. I racked my brain, and then it hit me. It was the criminal who had kidnapped her. But why was he with Jessica now? I couldn't understand. What shocked me most was how intimate they were. The kidnapper was a middle-aged man, and his time in prison had aged him terribly. His face was a roadmap of deep wrinkles. His teeth were broken and yellow. His skin was dark and leathery. His head was bald, and there was dirt under his fingernails and caked on his neck and hands. He was wearing ragged clothes. And yet this man, Jessica, was caressing his face as if he were a precious treasure. Then she leaned in close. The old man's body shuddered. A triumphant smirk played on Jessica's lips. She pressed her mouth to his. The sound was obscene. After a long moment, Jessica pulled back, a look of dissatisfaction on her face, a string of saliva connecting their lips. The old man was panting heavily. Jessica stood over him like a victorious general. Then, to his utter shock, Jessica took off her dress. The contrast between their skin was blinding as they intertwined. Jessica's expression was wild, crazed, as if she was trying to vent all her hatred and resentment. They thrashed against each other until, with a final cry, they both collapsed. My heart shattered into a million pieces. My wife. It seemed she had fallen in love with her kidnapper, and they were doing this out in the open without a care in the world. When had they started this? I couldn't fathom why my wife would fall for a criminal who had kidnapped and abused her. It was a joke, a sick, twisted joke. My entire life felt like a joke. 9. Luke, stay calm. Maybe it's a deep fake or something, Leo said, his voice laced with concern. He was one of the friends who had helped me get back and my cheating ex-girlfriend back in college. I couldn't believe something like this was happening again. Where did this video come from? I asked, my voice hollow. Leo hesitated, then sighed. I did some digging. The person who posted it covered their tracks pretty well, but I figured out. He looked me straight in the eye. It came from that auto repair shop. My blood ran cold, which meant it must have been one of the employees, Leo continued. They've always been shady. I was silent. Leo gripped my shoulder. Don't do anything crazy. We need to think clearly. I know you're hurting. If it were me, I want to kill them both. But you can't ruin your life over a pair of scumbags. I forced myself to take a breath, nodding slowly. My mind started to clear just a little. I don't get it, I said, my voice barely a whisper. We were so in love. We've always been. This morning we kissed goodbye. We were planning her birthday party for next week. I was so confused. Leo tried to reason it out. Maybe it's the 3-year itch or whatever they call it. Maybe she's been unhappy for a while and just never said anything. And you two never had kids, which can make a relationship more fragile. I let out a bitter laugh. So that's what it was. I had been so naive. Just then, Leo tapped my arm urgently. Luke, look. In a group chat where the video had been posted, someone had just dropped a link. A stranger had typed, "Hey, I just saw these two going into a hotel." The chat exploded with comments. The stranger, reveling in the attention, quickly typed again. I pulled some strings and got the room number and access to the security camera feed. Who wants to see? A flood of 1S filled the chat. The guy didn't keep them waiting. A link appeared. Leo glanced at me, then clicked on it. It led to some illegal streaming site. The feed was from a camera in the corner of a hotel room. The moment I saw what was happening, I froze. The two of them were tangled together. Jessica was holding a whip, lashing the man like he was a dog. She was venting all her rage and fury. But then, she was all over him, devouring him. I stood there, paralyzed, as if all the strength had been drained from my body. There was no room for doubt, no possibility of a misunderstanding. Leo's voice was filled with worry. "Luke, are you okay? Maybe we should stop watching you." I waved him off, my hand trembling as I pulled out my phone and made a call. On the screen, I saw Jessica's phone light up. She started to reach for it, but the man stopped her. He tried to touch her again, and she slapped him hard across the face. Through the camera, I could see her screaming at him. Then she kicked him in the stomach and smashed a vase over his head. After a few moments of this, Jessica finally walked to the side and answered her phone. On my end, the call connected. "Hi, honey." It was the same gentle voice, but now I could hear the panting and the strain beneath it. "Honey, why aren't you saying anything? Is something wrong? I'll come find you right now." As she spoke, she quickly got dressed. The man tried to stop her, but Jessica sent him flying with a single kick. Watching all this, I was more confused than ever. She was clearly the one in control. This wasn't like before, when she was tied up and helpless. It wasn't like he had some kind of leverage over her. And the moment I called, she was ready to leave without a second thought. "So, what was it that made you betray our love like this?" "Jessica?" 10. Once I saw Jessica leave the camera's view, I finally spoke. "Where are you right now?" I could hear her breathing heavily on the other end. She was clearly rushing to get to me. "I'm out grocery shopping, honey." The lie came so easily. I laughed. This probably wasn't the first time. "I'm going to ask you one more time. Think carefully." There was a brief pause. "Okay, Fina." I snuck out to get some super spicy wings. "I was afraid you'd be mad." "I'm sorry, honey. I know you worry about my health. You're still lying." I roared, then sent her the video. A moment later, Jessica's panicked voice came through the phone. "Honey, listen to me. You have to let me explain. It's not what you think." I sneered. "Not what I think. Then what is it? Are you going to tell me you were framed?" Silence again. "Honey, can I come see you? I want to explain this to you in person." "Don't bother. What's there to explain?" The video from your hotel room was really something else. I heard a sharp gasp on the other end. It sounded like she had fallen. A pained cry came through the phone. "Honey, I fell." I hung up. I couldn't find any peace. No wonder my co-workers have been whispering. So this was why. I was such a clown. Later that day, Jessica showed up in my office building, dragging her scraped knee and swollen ankle. But by now, the video was so widespread that almost everyone recognized the leading lady. She didn't seem to care. She knelt in front of the company entrance, waiting for me to come out. From the scorching midday sun until well into the evening. I had to hand it to her. To cheat so brazenly. And then to put on this act of a faithful, wronged woman. But her performance was cut short by a phone call. Her father. He had found out. I had no choice but to leave the office and head over there. Jessica staggered to her feet, trying to follow, but collapsed back to the ground. I didn't help her. I got into a taxi. One taxi followed the other. We arrived at her father's house. 11. Jessica's father, Mr. Reynolds, came from a family of academics and held a powerful position in the city government. He was obsessed with reputation. For him, this was the ultimate humiliation. When we walked in, he was sitting in an armchair, his face a thundercloud. The moment Jessica limped in after me, he hurled a teacup at her. It shattered against her arm, drawing blood. Jessica cried out in pain. "You still have a nerve to cry?" he bellowed. "You brought nothing but shame to this family." I stood silently to the side. Mr. Reynolds' chest heaved with rage. "You are going to explain to me exactly what happened," he seethed. "And if you dare lie, I will disown you." I was used to this. This was his nature. Jessica had grown up in this environment. It was why she had to be the best at everything. Dance, academics, student government. Anything less than first place meant a brutal tongue lashing. Maybe I really had been her salvation. After we got married, we moved out. Only then did Jessica seem to relax, to find happiness. Now I wondered, had I given her too much freedom? Is that why she did this? Jessica looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Honey, I was wrong. I was so wrong. But you have to believe me, I love you. I've only ever loved you." I looked at her, all the tenderness I once felt gone. "You love me, so you cheat on me?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "And with your kidnapper, no less?" With that disgusting old man who probably hasn't showered in weeks and is old enough to be your father? Your love is fucking disgusting. After I said that, Jessica seemed to realize that I wasn't going to comfort her and protect her like I always did. She broke down completely, slamming her head against the floor until she was bleeding. Her father finally yelled, "Stop it. Harming yourself won't change the past." His voice dropped to a low growl. "This family is cursed. Now tell me what happened. And if I find out you're lying, so help me, I will kill you." Trembling, Jessica began to explain through her tears. "I know you won't believe me, but the only person I've ever loved is you, honey. It's the truth." I watched her, my face a mask of stone. She continued, "You were so good to me. You loved me. You protected me. You surprised me. You took me on amazing trips. I felt like the luckiest woman in the world." She lowered her head. "But the better you were to me, the more I felt like I didn't deserve you. Yes, I had a powerful family. I was beautiful. I was a top student, and everyone respected me. But all of that was destroyed that day. Whenever I was alone, I was in so much pain. How could a filthy woman like me accept your love with a clear conscience?" "I never cared about any of that," I said flatly. "It wasn't your fault." Her eyes lit up for a second, then dimmed again. "I know. You're just that good of a person. I knew about you long before. That incident. You're more amazing than you think. You always caught my eye. I think that's a big reason why I was able to accept you so quickly back then." "I never knew that," Jessica went on. "I understood all of this. I had a happy life, a handsome, capable, loving husband, a perfect family. What more could I ask for? But the nightmares from the past and my own self-loathing never left me. I couldn't escape them." I looked at her. "So you just gave up? You decided to become trash?" Jessica looked up, her eyes pleading. "Honey, I didn't give up. I just used him as a tool to destroy the shadow of my past." I scoffed. Her expression fell. "I went to a therapist, but it didn't help at all. Then, one of them told me that to break the nightmare, the person who tied the bell must be the one to untie it. I didn't understand at the time, but when I happened to see that man on the street, digging through trash, I finally understood." Her father's face was beet red. He looked like he was about to have a stroke. For a man so obsessed with his image, this was unbearable. "So you started sleeping with him?" Jessica flinched at her father's voice, but continued, trembling. "No, I just used him as a tool to break the nightmare." I almost laughed out loud. How absurd. But Jessica, looking deeply remorseful, continued through her sobs. "I thought, my nightmare exists because he overpowered me, because he humiliated me. So, I had to be the one to do it back to him." Hearing this, I was speechless. What is wrong with your brain? Getting back at him means sleeping with him? In front of my car? Jessica hung her head. "I thought I had to torture him constantly. So I burned him with candles, I whipped him, I cut him with a small knife, again and again. And then, I made my biggest mistake. I thought if we did that again, but with me on top this time, I could finally break the nightmare. But I found that no matter what I did, I never felt that sense of release." She looked up at me, her eyes wet with tears. "It wasn't even 1% of the pleasure I feel with you, honey. All I felt was disgust." Jessica's expression was wounded. I knew it was wrong, but I was going crazy. The nightmares were tormenting me, and I couldn't find a way out, so you just kept experimenting on him?" I sneered. Jessica nodded, her face ashen. "How pathetic," I said. She didn't argue. I know it was wrong, but my heart was never with him. The one I love has always been you, honey. Hearing you say that just makes me want to puke. I turned to leave, but Jessica threw herself at my feet, clinging to my leg. "Honey, I know you can't forgive me, but I really do only love you." "You love me, so you cheat." She had no answer. I kicked her away and was about to walk out when I heard a thud. Mr. Reynolds had collapsed on the floor. He was old, with a host of health problems. "Dad!" Jessica screamed. "Call an ambulance." 12. The hospital was able to stabilize him. Mr. Reynolds lay unconscious in his bed, but he was out of immediate danger. I stood by silently, watching Jessica, who was huddled by his bedside. She looked at me, her face a mask of pain and regret. "Honey, you're all I have left. Please don't leave me." By now, the scandal was the talk of the town. Jessica's reputation was in tatters. The internet's ability to dig up information is terrifying. They had dragged her father into it, parading him through a virtual town square. As a public figure with a certain amount of prestige and a reputation to uphold, the damage was immense. The relevant authorities tried to suppress the spread of the video, but the internet is a hydra. It was as if an invisible hand was fanning the flames, and the video continued to circulate in the dark corners of the web. Even here in the hospital, there were whispers and pointing fingers. Jessica couldn't step out of the room without facing a gauntlet of stares. You gotta admit, she's got a great body. I mean, I'm better looking than that old creep, right? You think if I asked her, she'd be down? Worth a shot. If she's willing to get with that guy, she'll probably take anyone. Nah, forget it. I don't want to catch something. Good point. Not worth the risk. Disgusting. Sleut. Jessica was a prisoner. At the same time, other ugly rumors about her began to surface. Stories from college about her bullying classmates, threatening people, leading a group to torment someone until they committed suicide. And then stories about her father came out. Abuse of power, accepting bribes, using his influence to cover up Jessica's many transgressions. There were plenty of people in the world who couldn't stand Mr. Reynolds and were eager to see him fall. Former classmates from Jessica's university, high school, even elementary school, came forward with endless stories of her bullying. It didn't matter if they were true or not. Jessica was completely and utterly ruined. I looked at her, then turned to leave the room. Just then, Jessica suddenly collapsed. After a doctor examined her, we received another bombshell. Jessica was pregnant. When she woke up and saw the report, she was stunned. Her eyes flew to me, and she began to explain frantically, "Honey, listen to me. It's not his, I swear. I always made sure we used protection. I track my cycle. It's not his." I laughed coldly. You think the rhythm method is foolproof? You think condoms never fail? Pathetic. Even now, you're still living in a fantasy. I pulled her out of her bed and dragged her to her father's room. Why don't you explain this to your father? See if he believes you. We entered the room. Mr. Reynolds had woken up at some point. When he saw Jessica, the veins in his forehead bulged. He pointed a trembling finger at her. "Get out. You've ruined this family. I don't have a daughter." Jessica fell to her knees, sobbing. I threw the pregnancy report at him, then held out my phone. After looking at it, Mr. Reynolds' face turned purple. He pointed at Jessica, gasping for air. You. He couldn't catch his breath and collapsed back onto the bed. Jessica rushed forward. Doctors came running, but this time they couldn't save him. Looking at Jessica's ashen face, I said one last thing. "Don't forget to sign the divorce papers." Then I turned and walked away. Jessica reached out a hand to stop me, but in the end, she didn't have the strength or the right. 13. In front of the courthouse, Jessica held the divorce certificate, her face completely lifeless. "Honey, I'm so sorry." She fell to her knees. I just looked at her coldly. This is karma. Without another word, I got into a taxi. As the car pulled away, I could see her in the rearview mirror, still kneeling on the pavement. It didn't matter anymore. Jessica came to my apartment, begging, but I wouldn't let her in. Rain or shine, she was there. She finally left when she realized I would never forgive her. A few weeks later, I was on a plane, heading to a place in the mountains, surrounded by serene beauty. After getting out of the car, I read a text from Leo, then took a deep breath. I looked up at the clear blue sky, and I laughed. The scandal had been massive. An investigation into Mr. Reynolds had uncovered numerous violations and illegal activities. He was already dead, but his reputation was destroyed posthumously. A man who valued his image above all else had his legacy of integrity and academic honor utterly demolished at the end of his life. And Jessica? After everything, she found the kidnapper. He thought she had come back for more fun and eagerly approached her. She stabbed him to death. According to the police who arrived on the scene, she kept repeating that this was her atonement. Only then, she said, did she feel the nightmare was finally over. It was so simple all along. She laughed manically, then slit her own throat. Looking back on it all, I just felt they got what they deserved. They all deserved to die. 14. In college, I had a girlfriend. A wonderful girlfriend. Not the one who cheated. We were deeply in love. Her name was Claire Sterling. She was the kind of senior everyone respected and admired. Brilliant, graceful, and beautiful. A true star, with a future as bright as the sun. But to me, she was just my girlfriend who would pout and act cute. We spent years together. We were planning to get married after graduation, but we never got the chance. Claire and I kept our relationship private. She was well known on campus, and I didn't like being the center of attention. So no one knew we were together, but we cherished every moment we had. We dreamed about our future, how we would decorate our house, what our kids would look like, what we would name them. Everything seemed perfect. My grades were excellent. I was on track for a fellowship at a top graduate school. So was she. We planned to go together. Then I went abroad with a professor for a month-long research project. I came back, ecstatic to see her, and went straight to our apartment. I found her on the floor, her wrist slit, bleeding out. I didn't know what had happened. My world collapsed. Outside the emergency room, I went through the notes on her phone, and I finally understood everything. While I was gone, she had been subjected to horrific bullying because her talent had cost someone else a few important hosting gigs at campus events, because her brilliance made someone else seem dull. So that person, consumed by jealousy, gathered a group of followers and began to torment her. Her clothes and personal belongings were destroyed. She was relentlessly harassed by strangers. The windows of our apartment were smashed. She was kept awake at night by terrifying screams. Claire was not a weak person. She tried to fight back. She went to the police. But the person behind it all was too powerful. Every report was buried. Every case went nowhere. Even the university deans advised her, in not-so-subtle terms, to just give up. They offered her special treatment, a guaranteed fellowship. But she was already the brightest moon in the sky. She didn't need their handouts. So they escalated their attacks. She was robbed on the street. Malicious rumors were spread. They said she was a prostitute. They circulated deepfake videos and other filth. Suddenly, the rumors were everywhere. Claire endured the stares and insults of everyone. No one bothered to find out the truth. They just jumped on the bandwagon. Reading this, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. As her boyfriend, I had failed to hear the deep sorrow in her voice when she told me to take care of myself. If only I had paid more attention. If only I had come back sooner. If. There are no ifs. This was a crime, and they were all guilty. 15. The person behind it all was Jessica Reynolds. I found out from Claire's phone. Claire's light had outshone Jessica's. One failure after another drove Jessica to conspire against her. When bribes and threats didn't work, the bullying began. It was hard to believe her father, Mr. Reynolds, wasn't involved. His strictness, his obsession with Jessica being number one, the harsh punishments she faced for any perceived failure. It had all twisted her into someone who couldn't stand being second best, someone who would resort to extreme measures. After the bullying came the rumors, then even more vicious tactics. I discovered all of this, but punishing them was nearly impossible. The reason everything had been swept under the rug was because of Mr. Reynolds' power. He was a man of high standing and great influence. My efforts were useless against him. But no one, no matter how powerful, is without enemies. I remember the day an offer of help found me. He said he could help me. I knew I was being used as a pawn in a political game. I didn't care, as long as I could get my revenge. With my new benefactor's help, the people who bullied Claire met their ends. One by one, they ended up destitute, crippled by debt, or dead in car accidents. None of them were spared. Then I set my sights on the person who gave Jessica the idea to start the rumors in the first place. Since she liked to ruin people's reputations, I would give her a taste of her own medicine. It was easy to get close to her. Women like her are ambitious and shallow. I pretended to be in love with her, all the while using her to find a weakness in Jessica's armor. That's when I learned her ex-boyfriend, the senior from her department, had compromising photos of her. I saw my chance. I already knew they were hooking up. That day in the university building, staying late, pretending to look for my ID card. It was all planned. I even helped them pick their spot in the janitor's closet. And just like that, a video of university students getting it on in a closet went viral. They finally got what they deserved, a live-streamed public shaming, using their own tactics against them. But that wasn't enough. The true culprit had not yet been punished. But through my efforts, I had made a good impression on Jessica. I could tell she admired me. And so, how could you be so careless? Jessica. One dark night, after a student government party, she was walking through a dimly lit alley. A group of men grabbed her and took her away. You spread rumors about Claire? Let's see how you like it. I used every method I could think of to torture and humiliate her. I broke her down, systematically destroying her will. Mr. Reynolds was frantic, searching everywhere, but his political opponents made sure he wouldn't find her so easily. Even after Jessica was rescued, the scapegoat who took the fall was supposed to have been quietly eliminated, but he survived, a clear sign of the powers working against her father. And then, I appeared as her savior, rescuing her. She was overflowing with gratitude. The admiration she already had for me exploded. My constant companionship made her feel cherished and safe. With my insistence, she finally moved away from her father's oppressive home, and my own capabilities earned her father's approval. With Mr. Reynolds' help, I climbed the corporate ladder. As they say, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. Only by letting Jessica experience true happiness could I plunge her into true despair. My devotion to Jessica was so convincing it would move anyone to tears. She basked in this happiness, gradually becoming softer, gentler. But I knew her nightmares were still there. And that was perfect. If they had disappeared so easily, it would have been letting her off too lightly. I subtly reinforced her nightmares, deepening her guilt and self-loathing over being with someone as good as me. After what she had been through, she was no longer the golden girl, the untouchable campus queen. Then the scapegoat was released from prison, and we made sure he would cross Jessica's path. With constant suggestion from her therapist, she finally did what I knew she would. 16. After that, everything fell into place. Once as a mistake, twice as a pattern. She was consumed by the guilt of betraying me and the frustration of never finding the release from her nightmares she craved. After all, the old man was barely an inch long. She could never achieve her revenge by torturing her abuser. Then, I arranged the accident and took my car to the shop Leo told me about, the one with the shady employees who couldn't keep their hands to themselves or their mouths shut. They leaked the video. No matter how anyone investigated, it could never be traced back to me. It was all just a series of unfortunate accidents. The live stream that followed pushed Jessica and her father into the inferno. No matter how hard they tried to suppress it, they were powerless against the forces aligned against them. It no longer mattered whose baby Jessica was carrying. It was all over. The video was just the fuse. With the help of the master puppeteers behind the scenes, their family would never recover. They died in the most painful ways imaginable. I put my phone away. I had just sent Jessica a message, telling her the truth about everything. She would have received it. I walked to a gravestone and began to pull out the few weeds that had sprouted around it. How did you get so messy in such a short time? Does it mean you miss me? Don't worry, I'm coming. I chuckled. Whenever I had the time, I would come here to talk to her, so she wouldn't be lonely. After I finished cleaning, I sat on the ground and whispered to her. This was the place where we had promised to be together forever. So I buried her here. It was beautiful, with clear streams and fragrant flowers. She would have loved it. I smiled. Then I felt a sharp pain in my chest. I knew my time was up. A cold voice came from behind me. You did well, but I didn't turn around. I just wrapped my arms around the cold stone of the grave and leaned against it. Claire, I'm coming to find you.